Hermitage Road, Hitchin, opened in 1930 and transformed the town's medieval layout. Frederick Seabohm donated land for the road, which bears his name from his residence on Bancroft. It shortened the route to the railway station. Initially, Hermitage Road had box trees and a few timber-framed buildings on its right side. These buildings were demolished in the 1960s and 1970s. The buildings on the left were built between 1927 and 1929. The house atop Windmill Hill was criticized for its unsightly appearance and impact on the street's view when built in the 1920s. It's believed to be the first residence in Hitchin with an electric cooker. The Safeway building at the opposite end faced similar criticism in the 1970s. The late medieval Waters building was demolished in 1967 to make way for Safeway. This panoramic view shows a unique house in Hitchin in 1930. It has a distinctive, rounded southern wing. The thatched roof was replaced with wooden shingles. The poster also lists the candidates for the Urban District Council that year. In the early 1920s, the Lucas Brewery, established in 1709 and later becoming a limited company in 1896, was the brainchild of the Lucas family. Located on Bridge Street in Hitchin, between the Bridge Street Bridge and Sun Street, the brewery included a malt house and a brew house. Unlike many brewers, the Lucas family were Quakers who lived on the site. They produced beer, lemonade, and mineral water. On May 18, 1943, a large military parade took place in the center of Hitchin, the town's largest open space. The purpose of the event remains unknown, but it marked the day the British public learned about the Dambusters' raid on the Ruhr Valley in Germany. Hitchin Cattle Market, 1894. The livestock market moved from Bancroft to a site between the Cock Hotel and Paynes Park in the 1880s. Now a car park, some fittings remain along the northern boundary. The Luton Hitchin Letchworth bus, photographed in 1917, was Road Motors Limited No. 6. It was a Palladium autocars chassis from Kensington, fitted with a Harrington B26R body. The engine ran on town gas, and the chassis had previously been used as a Gloucester haulier. Established in 1871 by John Creasy, the Bird in Hand pub, one of 3 beer houses in Gosmore, sold beer from barrels or bottles. The pub, now housed in a late 1920s building, is similar to the Bull. In Purton, around 1910, Sarah Thrussell, a woman born in 1842 and who passed away in 1934, was seen plaiting straw in her home at Cromwell Terrace. Despite the village still having between 20 and 30 platers at that time, the industry was declining and ultimately failed to survive the outbreak of World War I in 1914. Titmore Green, around 1898. Straw platters are seen at their cottage door. A beer house, with the sign of its former landlord, Frederick Balls, is nearby, though he died in the 1880s. The cottages were demolished in 1910, and a new pub, the Hermit of Redcoats, was built in their place. In 1941, Land Army women worked in the countryside outside Hexton, stripping the bark from trees felled for pit props. Despite delays in returning men from Europe after World War II, the Women's Land Army didn't disband. It finally closed in November 1950. Around 1880, Russell and Featherstone bought Whiting's Tannery in Bancroft, Hitchin. They split up in 1886, with Russell keeping the company. Tanning was important in historic towns, and Bucklersbury likely comes from medieval leatherworkers. The tannery, known for its unpleasant smell, was near abattoirs and the diverted His River. Station Road, Letchworth Garden City, around 1910, near the current Premier Inn, shows the hill from Station Place to the junction with Norton Way and Bird's Hill, Cottages on the left were built between 1905 and 1907. Barley Supply stores, circa 1910. The timber-framed cottage on High Street, likely extended in the 1850s or 1860s, now houses a retail space. Albert E. Hagger, a member of a long-established North Hertfordshire family with branches in Essex and Cambridgeshire, was its proprietor. Around 1905, we see a group of people living in a poor area in Hitchin. They're in the courtyards near the lower end of Hollow Lane, formerly known as St. Andrew's Street. They seem to be celebrating, with a young boy wearing elaborate clothes in the front. After the buildings and courtyards were demolished, Hollow Lane was widened. The pub sign in the photo is for the Robin Hood Inn, which was first recorded in 1721 and acquired by Wells and Company of Bedford in 1843. Emma Arnold was likely the licensee at the time of the photo. The inn closed in 1922 and was demolished in 1925 as part of the slum clearance around Queen Street. Over time, the area has changed a lot. Garrison Court was built on the left side of the street in 1930, and Balliol Chambers, closer to the front, was built around 1970. The BT Exchange building, with a 1970s extension, now occupies the right side of the western end of Hollow Lane. The Shambles, Hitchin, 1854. The buildings on the left were demolished in 1854 by the Corn Exchange owners because they were deemed unsightly. The name Shambles comes from the Old English word bench, which was commonly given to the part of a medieval town where butchers displayed meat on benches outside a slaughterhouse. Samuel Lucas Sr.'s painting of Hitchin Marketplace from 1841 prominently features the Shambles. From 1939 to 1945, a static water tank stood in Marketplace, Hitchin. These tanks, with yellow letters EWS and an arrow, provided emergency water supplies. Some faded signs of them still exist around Hitchin. In the background, Maison Gérard, owned by local artist Gérard Sunis, is visible. The Great Offley Windmill, built in 1855, stood in the Flints on Luton Road between Great Offley and Lilly. It was the last windmill in the area, having been last used in 1895. It replaced an earlier wooden structure, first depicted on a map from 1658. The Offley bypass now runs behind the mill.